Once upon a while ago, there was a fisherman's puppet, carefully made by hand.
Hey out there folks, it's Dave here from Davestation VR, and today we're talking about a new PSVR game called A Fisherman's Tale. Now this is not a fishing game, although we've already got a few of those on PSVR if you're interested. Catch and Release is a great one. But anyways, this is a puzzle game, and it's sort of a movie-length kind of narrative experience where the puzzles play into the story and just work really, really well in VR. So the basic concept here is that you are a ship guy, a fucking, what do they call him? You know what I mean, a fisherman, a guy who lives on a ship. Anyways, you don't actually live on a ship. You live in a lighthouse, and you're building a scale model of the lighthouse you live in, but you realize that you're in a scale model of the lighthouse you live in. So it's kind of a mind-bending concept, but the way the puzzles work is you take items that are either large or small and put them into one reality to change their size so you can use them in other places. And they use that really well in quite a few of the puzzles here. There was only one that really frustrated me and I felt like wasn't well implemented at the end. But for the most part, they're really cool. They won't keep you stuck for too long. They're never too difficult. But they make a really interesting use of the size shifting mechanic. So the core puzzle mechanic there is really interesting, but what's going to draw a lot of people into this one is just the presentation and the story, just the narrative experience of this in VR. It's got great art style, really good attention to detail, and it looks incredible in the headset. And the voice acting is just entertaining and professional, and you kind of feel like you're in a little Pixar movie for a minute. It's a simple story that has some bigger themes about isolation and depression, but it's told in this lighthearted style that resonates really well, I think, with both younger players and adults. A lot of people will be able to get something out of this, I think. There's also some really cool set pieces outside of the normal environment in VR. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but there is a moment where you ride around inside the mouth of a big fish, and you also get to take a ship out on a stormy sea, and there's some really cool moments. Unfortunately, I did run into a few frustrating moments that really all stemmed from the way that you interact with objects in the game and the way your hands work. That sort of soured my experience occasionally. So essentially, you pick up and grab objects in the world to go around and do your puzzling, but occasionally you'll need to extend your hands further away than you can reach to grab something or to complete a puzzle. And they have a button for it, but it extends your hand like a fixed range. And sometimes that's too far. So unless you've teleported, by the way, it's teleportation and click turning, I should have mentioned that. But unless you've teleported to the exact right spot, sometimes the item you've got in your hand will go through the wall in a way it doesn't like. And then the object disappears. And at first you're like, wait a second, where did it go? And you're confused. And then you realize that eventually it reappears back where you picked it up from. And so it becomes this thing where every time you mess up a little bit, you have to just kind of wait for the thing to reappear. And it's not the greatest way to have done it. Games like Torn have a thing where you can pull objects closer and further away gradually. And I feel like that really would have worked a lot better. The fixed length of your arms can sometimes be an issue in the game. And there's just occasional puzzles where, especially the final puzzle in the game, where that mechanic kind of feels like you're controlling the Mr. Meeseeks guy in Rick and Morty VR before they patched it, in terms of just not being that fun and kind of frustrating. But for the most part, it doesn't really bring the game down. It's just there's a few moments you'll probably run into. Overall, even though this game is kind of on the short side and there's not much replayability, it's going to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours long tops, unless you're totally terrible at puzzles. But they're pretty simple for the most part. But even despite that and the issues I had with the controls, I think that what's here is a really good, well-priced product. It's $15 in the US store, and the first week I think it's got a launch discount, so it's like $12.50. And for that price, I think it's absolutely worth it. I mean, you'd spend that much going to the movies, and this is an interactive experience that has some real wow moments. And I think it's worth your time if you are interested in puzzle games or narrative experiences on PSVR. So I would definitely recommend A Fisherman's Tale. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you so much, and I will catch you later on. Have a good rest of your day.
If you can hear us, return to port immediately. I repeat, return to port immediately.